Your car just beeped at you again. It beeped when you got too close to the car in front. It beeped when you drifted 2 inches toward the lane line. It beeped when you backed out of your own driveway. And now, 6 years after you drove it off the lot, a warning light is telling you that the forward collision warning system needs service. The dealer just quoted you $1,800 to fix a sensor behind the front bumper, the sensor that beeps at you, the sensor you did not ask for, the sensor that federal regulators mandated be in the vehicle whether you wanted it or not. You are not paying to be safer, you are paying to maintain a system that was installed on your car to satisfy a government checklist, marketed to you as a life-saving miracle, and engineered in a way that guarantees it will cost you money long after the warranty expires. If you have ever wondered why your repair bills keep climbing while your car keeps getting smarter, hit like and subscribe. This is a channel that follows the money inside the machines everyone else tells you to trust. Now let us get into it. Here is the number the safety advocates don't put in their press releases. The average cost to replace a front bumper on a 2010 Honda Accord after a minor parking lot collision was $400 to $600. Cosmetic damage, plastic and paint, in and out of the body shop in 2 days. By contrast, the average cost to replace a front bumper on a 2022 Honda Accord after the same minor parking lot collision is $2,800 to $4,200. Same parking lot, same speed, same plastic and paint. But now there is a forward collision radar unit embedded in the grille, a camera behind the windshield that requires recalibration when the glass is disturbed, and 2 side proximity sensors in the corners that are part of the blind spot monitoring system. Every one of those sensors must be replaced or recalibrated after impact. Recalibrating a front radar unit alone costs $300 to $500 at a dealer because the process requires manufacturer software and a controlled calibration environment with specific floor markings and target distances. Your independent mechanic cannot do it without a $10,000 calibration rig, and he cannot afford to buy one. A fender bender that used to be a nuisance is now a financial event. This is not an accident. It is the direct and predictable result of a federal mandate that prioritized the installation of these systems over any consideration of what happens when they break. In 2016, 20 automakers, essentially the entire industry, signed a voluntary agreement with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, committing to make automatic emergency braking standard on all new passenger vehicles by 2022. That commitment was framed as industry leadership. In 2023, NHTSA made it a formal federal requirement. Every new car sold in the United States must now have forward collision warning, automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning, and rear cross-traffic alert as standard equipment. Not optional, not a trim-level upgrade. Mandatory on every car, including the $22,000 entry-level commuter you bought because you needed something reliable and cheap to get to work. The safety case for automatic emergency braking is real. Studies show it reduces rear-end collisions. Nobody is arguing the technology does not work in the conditions it was designed for. The argument is what happens to the technology over time, what it costs when it fails, and who bears that cost. Here is what the NHTSA mandate did not require. It did not require that the systems be repairable outside of a dealer network. It did not require standardized sensor placement so that calibration equipment could work across brands. It did not require that replacement parts be available from independent suppliers. It did not set any limit on calibration costs. It did not consider the repair cost implications for the 60% of American drivers who use independent mechanics instead of dealer service departments. It simply said the systems must be present. Everything that happens after that is between you and the manufacturer. And the manufacturers took full advantage. The radar unit in your front grille is typically a proprietary component. Bosch and Continental make the underlying sensor technology, but each manufacturer integrates it into a proprietary housing with a proprietary connector and proprietary calibration software. A Bosch radar module that costs $180 as a universal component costs $650 as a Toyota-specific assembly. The markup exists because Toyota controls the supply chain for Toyota vehicles. You cannot buy the equivalent part from an aftermarket supplier because the calibration software will not recognize a non-original equipment manufacturer unit. The car's computer checks the part number. If it does not match, the system throws a fault code, and the safety feature remains disabled until you go back to the dealer and pay for the original equipment manufacturer part. This is the same parts monopoly strategy we've already seen in printers and medical devices, now applied to your steering wheel. The windshield camera is where it gets genuinely predatory. Lane keeping assist, forward collision warning, automatic emergency braking, and traffic sign recognition. In most modern vehicles, all of these functions run through a single camera mounted on the inside of the windshield behind the rearview mirror. This is an elegant engineering solution. One sensor, many functions. It is also a catastrophic repair liability. In 2010, a windshield replacement cost $200 to $350, including labor. The glass itself was the expensive part, and the aftermarket glass industry was mature, competitive, and cheap. In 2024, a windshield replacement on a vehicle equipped with a front camera system costs $900 to $1,800 at minimum. On luxury vehicles with additional sensor packages, it reaches $3,000. The glass itself is no more expensive. What changed is that after the windshield is installed, the camera behind it must be recalibrated to the precise angle and position required for the safety systems to function correctly. Dynamic calibration requires driving the vehicle at a specific speed on a road with clear lane markings while the system resets itself. Static calibration requires a target board placed at a specific distance from the vehicle in a controlled indoor environment. Both processes require software that most independent shops do not have access to. The insurance industry has already noticed. The average cost of a comprehensive glass claim, windshield claims, increased 90% between 2010 and 2023, according to the Auto Insurance Costs Index. Your premium reflects that. The safety feature that was supposed to protect you is making your insurance more expensive every year, whether you ever file a claim or not. Now let's talk about the failure modes nobody puts in the brochure. Automatic emergency braking systems generate phantom braking events. This is documented, widespread, and statistically significant. NHTSA has received thousands of complaints from drivers whose vehicles braked suddenly for no apparent reason, for shadows, for highway overpasses, for vehicles in adjacent lanes, for nothing at all. A 2023 study by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety found that while automatic emergency braking systems reduce real rear-end collisions, they also generate false activations at a rate that causes real accidents. Drivers behind you do not know your car decided to brake for a shadow. They rear-end you, and now you have a rear sensor to replace in addition to a rear bumper. The lane departure systems are not cleaner. Rental car company forums, where high-volume drivers log thousands of miles a month, are full of reports of lane-keeping assist fighting the driver on curves, overreacting to road repairs that interrupt the lane markings, and inducing steering corrections that feel like a tire blowout to a driver who is not expecting them. These are not bugs being fixed. They are inherent limitations of camera-based lane detection operating in real-world conditions that the test protocols used for federal certification do not fully replicate. The test protocols certify that the system works. They do not certify that the system works without introducing new failure modes. They do not certify that the system is repairable at a cost ordinary people can absorb. And they do not certify that the system's false positive rate is low enough to justify its mandatory presence on every vehicle on the road. Here is who is sitting at the table when these mandates are written. NHTSA convenes panels that include representatives from the automakers, representatives from the major Tier 1 suppliers, Bosch, Continental, Aptiv, and representatives from the insurance industry. All three groups benefit from mandatory sensor installation. The automakers sell cars with higher content value and higher margin. The Tier 1 suppliers sell proprietary sensor systems under long-term OEM contracts. The insurance industry, and this is the one that should make you stop and think, collects higher premiums because repair costs went up, and in many states is legally permitted to raise rates industry-wide when repair cost averages rise. The consumer is not at that table. The independent mechanic is not at that table. Nobody representing the person who will be handed a $3,400 repair estimate for a parking lot scraped 6 years from now was in that room. The safety feature mandate did not just add technology to your car. It restructured the entire repair economy around technology that only authorized dealers can service, using parts that only manufacturers can supply, running software that only OEM tools can calibrate. It took a competitive, decentralized repair industry and handed a monopoly to the dealer network. And it did it with a federal safety mandate as cover, which means anyone who complains about the cost sounds like they are arguing against child safety seats. Physics does not care about optics. A radar sensor with corroded contacts fails whether or not it was installed to meet a federal safety standard. A windshield camera that drifts out of calibration after a temperature cycle gives false readings whether or not the brochure called it a life-saving innovation. And a repair bill for $2,200 empties a bank account whether or not the system that generated it was with a government mandate. The solution is the same one that keeps appearing in every one of these investigations. Buy older. A 2014 vehicle has none of these mandatory systems. It has a brake pedal, a steering wheel, and a driver. When it hits something in a parking lot, you replace plastic and paint, not a $600 radar module that requires a dealer calibration suite to bring back online. The independent mechanic down the street can fix everything on it with tools he already owns. The parts are available from 3 different suppliers. The repair is competitive. The 2024 vehicle with the full sensor suite is not twice as safe. It is twice as expensive to own, 3 times as expensive to repair, and specifically engineered so that every component failure routes you back to the dealership that sold it to you. That is not a safety feature, that is a revenue feature with a seatbelt logo on it, and you are paying for it whether you want it or not.